Kia ora koutou and welcome back to another episode of Full Credit. My name is Alice Soper and Les Elder is sitting not in the blue light. You've got out of New York. You're lovely and toned, and actually I look like a ghost. I'm back in being a ghost again. Oh no.
Hey, you look like a ghost, but I've got a hat on and a hoodie on, like just because I look like a mom, and that's the easiest way to like cover what I really look like under all of this. So, hey, let's be easy on ourselves. We are very busy, and it is 10 to 8 p.m. So yeah, but kia ora Alice, back again for the next preview of the next team as we move down the island.
I was going to say maybe you're also wearing the hat because you're being a bit of a stalker, because we are talking about your team. It is the Chiefs Manawa. So you're like incognito in this one. You're like, don't look at me. What's the vibe, Liz?
Wow, incognito. Yes, we do. I mean, luckily for us, right? We have still got people that are on the ground that are happy to like answer our questions and touch base and things like that. But as we know, everybody, Chiefs franchise or, Chiefs rugby have released the names of the last couple of signings that were missing in Chiefs Manawa. And so we have some names to add to what's already been public knowledge. There's a couple there that, I'm still questioning, where's this person gone? But we'll get into that detail soon. But ultimately, I think what we've got here is a very young, new, probably slightly inexperienced team, which can bring with it excitement, energy, all those sorts of things that can, can get the rugby juices flowing. But it also can bring with us just that inexperience and maybe, a bit of, what's the word? Green to this level of rugby. So it's going to be interesting to see how this team comes together in that first game, because for a lot of these girls, they've played a handful amount of FPC games. I think maybe a couple haven't even played FPC. So some massive exposure for a lot of them coming into Opiki 2026. What are your thoughts?
I feel like the thing I want to say first is probably the biggest news in Manawa land that landed this week, which was the announcement of Awhina Tangen Wainohu having to medically retire from the game of rugby. I think like just acknowledging that it sucks. Like there's really I don't know what else you can say. It sucks when the decision is made for you. It sucks to see what was, a long-term injury like re-aggravated. I'm pleased, of course, that this was something that was picked up like before the worst happened, because let's be real, that could have been the outcome here. So at least she was able to make an informed decision. That's good. I am gutted for her. I'm gutted for her in terms of, when we first spoke about, I did an interview, a longer form interview with Awhina, it would have been a couple of years ago now, when she was in the middle of her rehab the first time around for this injury. And speaking to her at that time, her real frustration around early on how like this neck injury had been underlying and there for a long time, and she thinks was probably originally triggered from being actually too green and chucked into that front row without necessarily having enough of that wraparound support. And it just makes me think about all of our beautiful big girls that we do this to up and down the country, where, let's be honest, a lot of the time you don't choose the front row chooses you. You turn up to a training, people look at your body and they go, that's where you're playing. And often in those like first steps, you're not necessarily given the right amount of training. Like, I don't know about you, Les, but like as a club coach myself, it can be really hard to hold space for that if you don't have the numbers at training that turn up. How do you really prepare people for being there in the front row? And so, all of those, like, I say that because I'm just like, that was the first instance and then that's the last. But then I have so much love for Awhina because that was her story, but she has already, before even this, and, who knows what she'll do next, but she already was determined to make sure that stopped being other people's story. And so, when she was out and doing that rehab, she got involved in front row clinics in the Waikato, and one of those props that she got alongside a young prop who was transitioning into the front row, who was turning up at all the scrum clinics, that prop was Vaisinia Mahutariki Whakalilo. And that also speaks to, when I say we haven't necessarily had that wrap around our front row for a long time, there is such a sisterhood in the front row. I learned how to play front row off my teammates. And that was, she would acknowledge that was her experience, and then now she's passing that on too. But yeah, I don't know, just like a lot of grief for me attached to that, because it is a dangerous game we play, and I just think we need to be more careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you highlighted that at the start of this podcast. And yes, it slipped my mind actually, but that has been the big news coming out of Chiefs Manawa and the Black Ferns, obviously, not just the Manawa, but also her club and her whānau. But like you, it's one of those ones where, and you've said it already, you're like so gutted for her, but so grateful at the same time, because her life is so much more important than a game of rugby. And I think I messaged Afi to say, like, I know that she'd be being brave right now. She's shared her post. She actually asked to go public with the news before New Zealand Rugby. So she went public before a press release was announced. And I just sort of said to her, I know you'll be being brave, but it'll be hurting like hell. So, yeah, I think, Afi, if you are listening to this girl, like, just know that we are thinking of you. The whole rugby community, especially the women's rugby community, are thinking of you. And we know how much you love being a mum and how much you love your boy. And so for your whole whānau, this is the best thing that could happen before anything else got worse than it already has been for you. And, she's come back from this injury. She's made the Black Ferns. She's done amazing things. Unfortunately, it's been cut short, but somewhat grateful that it wasn't anything worse than this. I think I was actually Afi's first roomie in the Black Ferns, her first ever Black Ferns camp. Two mums, actually, because our kids are the same age. Her little boy and my oldest girl are the same age. So we were both, it was actually really nice to room together. Her, I think, just her first camp, and maybe like the longest amount of time she'd been away from him for, in those early days, and also for myself, just being away from our new babies. So, yeah, we got to connect over motherhood. And she was actually a bolter. She was a bolter in the Chiefs Manawa in 2021. No one had really heard of her, known of her, but they asked her to come along and play. And yeah, from the moment you met her, you're like, oh, this chick's cool. Like, pretty intimidating chick from the outset, but so funny once you actually get to know her. So yeah, that's shit news for Afi, but it's good news too, sort of,
Yeah, bittersweet. I think, the other thing just to keep in mind of this, and you never want to write people's script for themselves as well, because I think just like any relationship breakup, you actually have to have some time apart to properly grieve it, and then be able to reset without trying to hold on to something, But I just want to say again, for all rugby players out there, we're one example, but there are so many ways, your relationship changes over time. It actually doesn't have to end. And so if you want to continue to stay connected to the sport in different ways, there are different ways to do that. Like I said already, her time on the field playing might have come to an end, but her influence plays on already in players that she's played alongside. So I'm just more front rowers into coaching. We do not have enough wahine that are coaching our wahine. And I would love to see more of that, because like I say, everything good I learnt was off my teammates who know how our bodies and how our dynamics and all of that stuff goes on in there. And I would just love to see more women leading in that space, in that front row, tutelage to each other.
Well, why not end it there, right? Why end it there? There are people that have an opportunity right now to just grab her, buddy her up with someone, get her upskilled. Is that a future forwards coach that we can utilize off? Her brain will be full of so much knowledge that she's got from so many amazing coaches. It's fresh, she's young, she's got the energy, she's got the love and passion for growth, development, and the game. Come on, Chiefs Manawa. Bring her into your coaching group and develop her.
Well, I mean, look, they're having her in camp as a mentor. I'm not sure if you'd already seen. We've seen some images this week. We're getting closer to kickoff because we've started to see some images popping up out of all the different camps. And so seeing her front and centre in the middle of there, wonderful. That's what we would hope to see. And, like I say, you're so right. Like if Kelly Brazier can step off the park and into a coaching position, and Charmaine McMenamin can do that, and Linda Itinu can do that. Let's hear it for the front row. This podcast brought to you by Love of Props. Anyway, shall we talk through this full Manawa squad list? Because this was something that was like kind of snuck out. I'm just going to be so for real. So people might have missed it because I only kind of picked up on it because I was actually wanting to confirm the full coaching lineup for the Manawa, and then realised that underneath the notice around Afi was a whole bunch of new signings. They just kind of like snuck them in there. So shall we go through? Do you want to read them out for me again?
Yes. Okay. So let's start from the props. We have got so many newbies in the front row here, with only 11 caps across 2 players. So Te Uruponamu Magavi comes back to the Manawa. She was with them, I think, in 2023 and 2024.
Yes.
Didn't see her last year, but she's back. That's a Bay of Plenty girl out of Ruatuki. Cheyenne Kaitapu is due to make her debut in Opaki, and she's a young prop from Melville. She's featured for the FPC team as well. Sorry, I'll take forever if I go and give notes on everybody. So let me just go through this, We've got Amber Mundell, Lonita Ngalu, and then obviously Vaisania Mahutariki Whakalelu. The hookers, we have Nicole Purdom and Vicky Rose Green. In the locks, we've got Jade Coates, Leomi Kloppers, Olivia Holton, Liata Punileo, and Jessie Wharekura. In the loosies, with our most stacked, Kennedy Tukuafu, who is also our captain, Mia Anderson, Tenille Fitzgerald, and China Hohepa. Halfbacks, we've got 3, Ariana Baylor, Holly O'Sullivan, and Reese Anderson. Inside backs, Karis Dallinger, the power girl, gone Australia. She's back in the Manawa, or back in New Zealand playing for the Manawa. Kaya Nepia was in the lineup, but as per the announcement, she's actually been ruled out due to injury.
Oh, what? I missed that.
You missed that. That was in the write-up. Potentially for the whole season. Louise Blyde, cousin of Michaela Blyde. Midfield, Kiriana Nolan, Shoshana Siumanutafa, and Lavona Motuliki, And in the outside backs, Justine McGregor, Leila Idamia, Manaya Nuku, Praseya Singh, Shira Tuliao Tua'a, and Madison Flutie, with replacement cover, my girl, Hui Harding.
Now, the reason why you had to stop yourself, though, is because you do want to do an explainer, because let's be so for real. That is not your Manawa squad from last year. Like, that is a ringing of changes throughout the pack, like, across the board. I don't even, like, where do you even begin? Do we talk about the fact that they've got, like, a whole bunch of asterisks on the outside back, so it's an all new outside back lineup for them? Do we talk about the fact that I didn't even know about Kaya. You broke that news and my heart with that update just now, and then, or do we talk about the fact how much work those loose forwards are going to have to do, because they are the core of experience across this team? Like, where do you begin?
Where do you begin? I reckon let's begin with who's out. Who's left us? Who's left the Manawa?
So, full disclosure, my lovely, well, not wife, but we'll probably never bother doing the actual ceremony, so whatever, we'll just call her my wife. My wife, Bailey, she listens to this, bless her. I'm like, I can't believe you listen to that. You have to listen to me at home all the time. I can't believe you listen to this. And she will hear the podcast half the time. She'll hear it, like half of it, she'll hear my voice. But anyway, she messaged me and was like, I know, she didn't even tell me this to my face, but anyway, she messaged me and was like, I'm listening to your podcast. Do you want me to do what I do best, which is stalking people on the internet to find out exactly where everyone's gone? And I was like, of course I do.
Yes.
She is like the master of the lurk on the Instagram. So she's put a whole series of notes together for us on everybody. And thank you, my darling. Appreciate you.
Great work.
That means that I can tell you that Azalea Marker, she's with the Broncos now. So NRL, way she goes. Charmaine Smith, she's currently hapu. We love that for her, but that means she's out of the game. Grace Hopapa Barrett, it's an interesting one. She's missing, from what I understand. This is because she's self-employed. And so when you're talking about that money and that time that you're taking out, when you employ yourself, it's a hard thing to keep those plates spinning. It's not like you can ask your mate to cover you or ask for your boss for some time off. You can put a pin in that for a lot wider discussions about the structure of this competition. But anyway, Grace Kukutai, she's gone. Now, she was gone to the NRLW playing for the Raiders, but then I have this note here from Bailey, randomly played for the Mystics in April as injury cover. So she obviously came from netball, but she got called up again.
I watched that game. I was so impressed too that she's like literally chops and changes between sevens, she was originally a netballer, so that is her bread and butter. Then she's been picked up in the Blackfern Sevens environment and sort of like been in and out of their camps, Blackfern Sevens development. Then she's played a lot of her rugby in Japan, playing sevens. Then she was with the Newcastle Knights last year with Tanika Willison. And then, didn't get signed by the Knights, but did get signed by the Raiders. And then, yes, she appeared on our TV screens in a netball skirt. And I was like, girl, you're amazing. And she did so well. I was actually like, whoa, she's a good netballer, which, we should have known that anyway. But to be able to do that, like play all those sports and be good at all of them. Yeah, but
honestly,
she gone.
She's gone because, as you can see, she has lots of options. She just chooses what it is she wants to play. For goodness sake, Grace. Now, Hazel Tubick, just gone. We've been seeing her a little bit over the last couple of seasons, though, starting to kind of transition into a coach position. She's obviously not in any of the setups with Opiki, but the last couple of seasons with Counties Manukau, she's been a player coach within that setup. So is this kind of indicative of kind of a further step towards that? Who knows? She hasn't got a contract. I am surprised.
Yeah, me too.
When you're talking about Kaya Napier, I would have thought the first call would have been to Hazel to say, soz about that, can you come back and save us? Because she's been one of their foundational players. She's been there since the beginning.
Actual foundational player there in the first game, and bleeds. Wow. Pink, I guess, but that's just so not the colour really for the Chiefs. But, bleeds Chiefs. She is just so loyal to the province, to the region, to the franchise, that I thought she would have at least had some kind of role, even if it was mentorship, because they have got some young 10s. They've got some young 10s and 12s. Kiriana Nolan, Karis Dellinger, and Karis Dellinger has had areas in her game that probably she could do with a bit of mentorship. So, I hope Hayes is all good. I follow her on Insta and things like that, and I know she's developing young aspiring athletes in counties. So they've got a good mentor to look to. But I would have thought that she might have featured in the squad, just for an older, level-headed head.
Yeah. I guess that maybe they would argue that that's the role that Kelly Brazier's being asked to play in that coaching setup. But I don't know. It is a surprise to me that there's not any place for her, because like I say, up until this season, she has been involved in this Manawa team every season, going all the way back to that exhibition match. So big retirement. That's kind of gone under the radar. So, questions to be asked there. Kate Henwood, though, she retired and we found out about that. We did get the notification. Kate Henwood has retired. Likewise, Kelly Brazier, we got the notification. She has retired and has now transitioned sideways to the coaching box. Crystal Murray, my favourite, has come back to me. She's come back to me, darling. Yes. And I saw a photo of her today running and looking great. Woo!
And I mean, we aren't up. Poa will be our feature next week. We're not going to talk about them tonight. We're not going to take the spotlight tonight. But, looking at this team here, I don't think it would have been the team for Crystal, if I'm being honest. I think she suits a Poa team right now. So I'm happy for her. I'm happy for that she's gone somewhere where the style of rugby is going to suit her and she's going to add massively to it. To me, she should be in the Black Ferns, but hey, we're not talking about that. But I'm happy for her.
We'll put a pin in Muzz for now, but I'll just say, yay, thank you, Muzz, love you. Okay, Logan Hodaki. Unsure. She had a lower back injury last season for the Manawa, but she did also then play in the FPC final. So who knows? Maybe a wider squad, not unclear. One that we definitely know is out for injury, though, is Luca Connor. And I know this because I got a message sent directly to me after going, where the fuck is Luca? People watch my stories and immediately sent me that update that, no, she is out. She is apparently doing like return to play protocols or whatever with it, but it will be outside of Opiki window. So
you know what?
This is out.
This just shows my brain retention. It's so terrible, and I blame that on being a mum, because I literally messaged Luca today and I was like, where the fuck are you? And she's probably like, hey, I've already told you guys, like, I forgot that. I forgot. So sorry, Luca, that I'm hounding you in your DMs, but it just means we're thinking of you.
You know what?
So
I'm sure she's good. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm sure she appreciates that somebody's asked. Like, the worst thing is if you're, like, not there and nobody noticed. Like, that sucks. Well, oh, okay. Stuff me, I guess. Sad. Okay. One that the Manawa definitely noticed, Merirangi Paul, gone to the Blues. We spoke about how that's a great move for her last week. Another one that we'll talk about in more detail next week is, welcome, Renee. You know what I will say, just because it's relevant to right now, is one thing that I thought was cool for Renee, who, for those of you who don't know, Renee's like represented New Zealand in lots of random sports. Like, I say random sports because she did like, what is it, Ultimate Frisbee or something like that?
Yeah.
But the less random one was she played in the under-17 football for New Zealand.
Yes.
And so she was there at Porirua Park on Sunday when the Phoenix managed to win the weird playoff system that works. And so they're the first New Zealand team to ever make an A-League final, men or women. How good. But she was there and she was stoked. Because obviously, like, Renee still knows a bunch of those football people doing age grade stuff together. So that's very cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Very cool that she was there. Rosie Kelly, NRLW with the Cowboys. Ruby Tui, punditry in the UK, although watch this space, she just teased on a podcast today that she's got an announcement's coming, so that's a watch this space, I would say. Santo Taumata is down at Matatu. Great move for her, I think.
Yeah,
100%. I'm excited. I think it's
same. Go Santo.
Yeah, like go for it, girl. One that is mysterious. Whoa, mysterious girl. Tanya Kolonavali, where are you? Where are you?
Where are you?
Not declared anywhere? What? What are you doing? What are we doing? What is the entire competition doing?
Yeah. Where are you, girl? Where is the secret announcement going to be made? Like, is she going back to PW? No, she can't.
I mean, she could probably get another contract up in PWR. I'm sure they'd welcome her back there. But, like, are we silly enough to be like, bye? Like, we need props. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Are Chiefs at max capacity? Like, do they have any vacancy left? Do we know?
I think that with those announcements this week, they have filled roster.
That's it. So, wow.
I'm pretty sure.
What about everyone else?
I'll have to have a look. I'll have to do
okay. Let's do it, but let's get Bailey on that. Let's get our Bailey on that.
Bailey, this is you know what? Don't even got to send you the message, darling. You're going to listen to this and you're going to hear this part, and that is your cue. Bing! You are now let loose to figure out what Tanya's doing. And then Tanika Willison, she is in the NRLW as well. A lot of NRLWs has been a magnet for the Manawa. Why do you think that is?
Well, this is the thing, and I feel like I need to snoop back through one of our podcasts from last year, because I'm pretty sure, I know that I've said this to you, I've said it to other people, is the recruitment from last year's Chiefs Manawa team concerned me. And the concerns I had was that we were going to see this mass exodus. One, of retired players, because we did go with a slightly more experienced player group. So we were potentially going to face some retirements, right? And then two, cross-coders. Like, yes, I know that we're trying to support cross-coders and we want to make it work but if you're eventually going to, if you're going to read between the lines, you're going to see some shifts in where this competition would sit. And eventually you would have assumed that they would have to make a choice between NRLW. So to have that many, because I think you've also missed Martha Matele. She was with the Chiefs Manawa.
Yeah, shoot. Sorry, I have. Yes.
And so she's also gone back to NRLW. So, when you're carrying that's the risk you run, is when you're taking a lot of those cross-coders in. My concern probably in all of this is that, what are we heading into our 6th year of Super Rugby Aupiki? 5 years, because that one-off game. So 5 years. In that 5 years, here I go again with the talent ID. But where has that been, where we haven't needed to rely on NRLW players that could potentially leave us, all those sorts of things. So, yeah, that's my gripe with all of this.
I feel like now we make a noise. This is the noise for when Les talks about talent ID. You have to do it for me when you talk about like marketing programs or whatever it is that I say all the time. But like there are bing bong bing, we're talking about talent ID again. But I think you're right. I do recall you talking about the experience and your concerns around that last year, so we will have to go back in the archive. Bailey, go listen to No. I'm going to get in trouble now because I'm asking too much. Love you.
I see you looking over there like, is she there?
She's not even home, but I'm just like anxious that she's going to tell me off. Anyway, we will need to go back and have a listen and figure that out, because I know you did talk about that last season. But I think this is also maybe, to zoom out for a second again and put this back into context. Yeah, okay, I think Manawa have been the one that's probably fallen over in this respect. But I think this was the symptom of a system that up until, again, I'm going to say it again, up until this season, didn't have a multi-year view. So, the licensings were an annual renewal. So how do you do future planning on that when you are setting things up that it's like maximize your hand season on season? Well, then, you probably are going to make the riskier call, but like the safer in some ways to pick experience, because then you don't have to try and blood in a whole bunch of girls because you don't know if the comp's there next year. If you are also looking at then, we'll bring a bunch of NRLW. Let's be for real. The transition of that was like loosey-goose as hell. I heard from players that they only found out that the window was moving randomly because someone was on the sideline for them at a training and overheard that they were going to Australia and said, don't do that. The competition's moving. They're like, what? And then nothing, crickets, until like October last year. So those things, like if you didn't hear until October last year, you probably get away with it, because when was Aupiki played? Bloody February? Like, you might not have made those plans. So in Manawa's defense, I'd say this is probably a system of like, this is a structural issue in terms of planning. Yeah. I think the thing that you can take heart in, and I'm going to offer this to you as an olive branch, Les, as someone that is newly entering this place of, this is going to be hard with my team because I've been here for a while, offering you the hope, which is, look, you have invested in a lot of young talent. Okay, so this might be a hard season, but now that we know that there are multi-year seasons, now that we know for the first time multi-year contracts are being signed with players, Vey was one that I saw sign a multi-year deal with the Manawa, those type of things will be able to give you that, forward planning and momentum that you're seeing, like having missed when it came to hitting this season.
Yeah. No, I'm going to have to learn from you. Do you know how to navigate this? these unknowns. But
You just got
hey,
to set your expectations, you know?
well, I actually just hope that this team like makes me eat my words, because I am a bit nervous, you know, if I'm being honest. I am a bit nervous. It's probably, we're used to probably a Black Ferns star-studded Manawa team, because there has been that in our region, and we have been able to recruit that to our region if they haven't been from there. Not to say, though, that I don't love an underdog, you know. So I would just say with these young girls, you got nothing to lose. Really, like, the pressure ain't on you. You just got to turn up, give it your absolute best, and own the underdog status, and just bloody foot on the throat, man. Who gives a shit if they're a Black Fern? You know, who gives a shit? Like, just go out there and kill it. So I hope these girls absolutely smash it.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about where some of these players have come from? Because as much as I say, you know, look, but stressful, some of these youngies, what we can also say is you have managed to pick up 2 Black Fern Sevens players. Like, it's not all doom and gloom, for goodness sake. You've got Justine McGregor, who's just fresh capped now for the 15s and should be playing for the Hurricanes Power, because she's a Petone Pony girl. What the hell are you doing up there, my girl? Anyway, that's fine. We love them going other places. And then Manaia Nuku, who's coming back from injury, yeah? So great to have those pickups.
Yeah, they'll add some, you know, and they're full-time as well. So just having more girls that are doing rugby all day, every day, that's going to help with just lifting those professionalism standards, because that can be a shock too, right? Is when a lot of these girls who maybe haven't played at this level come in and it's just full noise. You know, you're cramming in a week's load of content into 2 or 3 days, so it can be full on, and it requires a bit of discipline, patience, and all those sorts of things, and an openness to learning. That if you can balance that out with a few girls that have lived that professionalism, they do help. So they will add firepower on the field, but also I think just lifting the standards overall of a professional environment. I'm really excited to see, we've talked about her briefly on the pod, is young Shira out of Hamilton, out of Waikato. She was a Hamilton Girls high school player. She's played a bit of Black Fern Sevens development and those Ignite tournaments and things like that. Solid, big, strong, powerful winger. So real excited to see how she goes. Is there anyone in particular in that group of incoming players that stand out to you or that you've noticed in FPC?
Good question throwing to me really quickly. I think what's interesting is actually how there's been a couple of people that have come from the PWR that aren't necessarily on people's radar. This actually happened last week as well. There was a Fianazzi had come from PWR into Opiki, and the same is true of Madison Flutie. Now, Flutie's a famous last name. Yes, they are related. I'm pretty sure Ricky's her dad, I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure that Ricky only started coaching women because of Madison.
To help his daughter.
And helping out down in Otago. So had been with the FPC. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, when you're talking about the onboarding of younger players, obviously having a bit of exposure, because the PWR system can actually be quite comparable to Opiki, like at least it was when I was there, around trying to fill in around the edges of a life. It's not yet your full-time life, so it's quite intense, and the expectation on pick-up and learning. So that's, I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, how they go. Prasaya Singh, she's been good. An exciting player to watch in the FPC for a little while. So I'm excited to see how she goes. I feel like Nicole Purdom, I feel like maybe I saw her play a university game, like a New Zealand universities game. I'm trying to remember if that was her, and I was actually impressed, even though Bailey, it doesn't say that in the notes, so
she was I think
I might have seen her.
Yeah, I think she played well, and she's played hooker for Canterbury. So that, I mean, I guess just when we look at programs, right, like some of these more established programs often expose their girls to high performance settings and things like that. Like they drive pretty well run ships. So players from Canterbury that are coming into this environment, while they may be green to Opiki and even to FPC, they have probably come through a pretty well oiled system of high performance. So And she was not too bad as a hooker last year. I'm pretty sure that's the one. She wasn't too bad for Canterbury. Young Lanita Ngelu. So Lanita actually was outside back. And she was probably like Shira, like powerful, explosive, physical. She actually was a part of like the age grade reps coming through when she was at Hamilton Girls High and things like that. And then kind of dropped in and out of the game. When I was working for the Bay of Plenty Rugby Union, I was a female academy manager, I guess is what you'd call it. And I tried to get Lanita from Waikato to move to the Bay of Plenty and come play for us because she was pretty impressive. But interested to see how she goes because I know she's been in and out. I have heard that she has transitioned into the front row. Ooh. And just coming back to where we started this podcast around girls being thrusted into the front row, maybe because, their body has picked, what you said earlier, they've been pushed into that position. And Lanita hasn't actually played front row. So I just hope she is someone that is being uffied and manakied and looked after so that we're not having any kind of issues what we're seeing with Uffy, So I'm sure in that environment they've got that covered, I'd like to think. But yeah, that is a player that is transitioning to the front row. She's only been playing club rugby at number 8. So it'll be interesting to see how her season unfolds.
I mean, look, a lot of new people to fall in love with, and you never know because, as like we said last week, Taufa, who the hell was she? Like all these Braxton's 5 years old and then incredible. Like you don't know. Like age, experience isn't always everything. Like that, and that also always remembering too that the gift of inexperience. If you don't know enough to be worried, we used to always laugh about that. The players, young players, you would see starting to play, and you're like, oh, they run like they've never been hit. And that can be a great thing where you have no fear running into a line because you don't know what hurt is yet. So great. Bring that energy, run full hiss, full noise. Changes also in the coaching lineups. So that was, when I had stumbled across all of these other changes, that was from going and trolling there. So same head coach, Dwayne Sweeney again. Assistant makeup has changed. So Carla Hohepa still in place. For goodness sake, give her the head. Anyway, Carla Hohepa still in place. But otherwise, 2 new assistant coaches. So obviously Kelly Brazier has been pulled in there and then Nathan White has joined them as well. So hopefully, like we said, we were a bit, what the hell, on a bunch of choices that were made last year. Maybe there's a bit more stability that will come out of this group. There needs to be, though, because when we look at my old mate retention rate, Les, it's the worst you've ever had. You've got 39% of the squad that played for the Manawa last season. And I can tell you that that's first equal for the worst turnover ever in Super Rugby Aupiki. The last time a turnover was this high, it was the Blues between season 1 and 2. And the Blues went on in season 2 to finish last.
Don't say that.
So I'm just saying that because you know why I'm saying it that blunt? Because you know what we also said a couple of episodes ago in this podcast was that we need an angry Kennedy. So Kenny, I'm just giving you fuel here, girl. I'm just piling it all on your shoulders so you're just going to hulk out of it and be like, nah, let's go.
Yeah, because that is not a good stat to link with the outcome of a season because the Blues came last.
Yeah, it's just tough. It's just tough when you're onboarding that much new. That's just the truth, team. It's tough. It's not impossible because nothing ever is, but it's bloody hard. Obviously attached to that, so they've only got 2 of them now. There's 2 remaining who have been Manawa the whole way through. Kennedy, Tukuafu and China Hohepa. I mean, gosh, like if you're going to have 2 the whole way through, those are a couple of pretty good ones.
Yeah. And I hope, like you said earlier, we need to expect a big shift from that loose trio, right? Because if it doesn't, a lot of what this season unfolds is probably going to sit on those two women's shoulders. And you may find that they are carrying this team. I mean, in saying that, they are two people that can do it. They are fierce leaders. One is calm and collected. The other just brings that hype, that vibe, that emotion. So, yeah, stalwarts of the Manawa team, but probably big expectations sitting on them. I hope those around them can uffy them and really get behind them.
Okay. Do you want more interesting stats, as I call them, but like maybe they're actually just depressing stats? Because
oh my goodness,
you already
yes,
picked
I've
up
just
on
read.
it. This is the least amount of current Black Ferns that a Manawa team has come into a season on. You're right. When I talk about that exodus that happened from the Blues between season 1 and 2, most of them just ended up down the road at Manawa. And so four current Black Ferns in that time, in that team. Not all bad news though. You've got one other contracted in Ariana Baylor, and you've got, like I said, those two Black Ferns Sevens players that have come in there. You've also got 3 internationals, and I was like, I thought the cap was 2, but I think that Karis Dellinger is sneaking around it because Karis hasn't played for the Wallaroos for a long enough time that her eligibility is up for grabs. So she's in a transfer window. And then obviously Shoshana had just been playing for Canada in Pac 4, and then Jade Coates plays for Fiji. So, there's a bit more international experience there. Do you want me to keep just beating you up? I'm so sorry. The stats weren't good.
I know you're trying to be positive about the internationals, but really, one hasn't played internationals in a couple of years, and one is really only just starting to start in that international team that she plays for in Shoshana. She's generally has come off the bench or not even made the team. Still a good player though, and I hope Manawa play her more, because she sat on the bench for Manawa or in the bloody grandstand last year. She's a quality player. Get her on the park. And then the other, just a Fiji international, and they are sort of, how do I say, ranked further down in the international tiers, I guess. So, when you hear international, sometimes that can appeal greater than probably what game capacity and structures and that actually truly allow. So, yeah, I still think with those players, we've still got some gaps there, so it's still going to be tough.
Can I just say, again, no disrespect to this Manawa squad that they've assembled, but there is some random call-ups that have gone on there, right? Not random, but hey, I don't know this player. You've pulled them in. You were saying, that one of the players that is injury cover for them at the moment is Mama 3, all of this type of thing. If you were going to put hey, do you want to just come back in and help out? I mean, you'd probably call Les Elder. But if you weren't going to call Les, one person I might call is Vic Edmonds. She's my favourite, man, and she's around. She was playing for the Invitational Wahine Māori team last year, and she was fucking brilliant, as she always is. After having just been played over in Ireland, in the club scene over there, she's back, I believe, in the police force at the moment. So she'll be fit because her job requires it. Why aren't you calling up Vic Edmonds? She's honestly, captain of my underrated 15 in Aotearoa women's rugby. She has been she is one of my favourite people in her position, because, oh my God, she never does any of the stuff that is necessarily as razzle-dazzle, but she does everything the second before the magic happens. She's quite frequently the person that cleans that ruck to allow that ball to come out quick. She's quite frequently the one that makes the dogged tackle to allow other people to realign. She's quite frequently the last pass that then puts somebody else into space, which makes the highlight reel. I love Vic Edmonds. That's it.
Yeah. No, yeah, great person to bring up, actually. And it wasn't until you said her name that I was like, oh, yeah, true. I mean, I would even reach out to someone like a Kendra Reynolds. I know she's in Hong Kong playing, but she was an OG Manawa girl. Imagine having her back in your loose trio. So yeah,
I just, anyway.
get creative.
Anyway.
We could have got creative, but hey.
Okay. I've given you some random, because now I was just softening the blow before I talk to you about some more depression, which is the win rates. Okay, so this was actually when I was looking at all of the things and all the stats. This is the one that I think is the biggest test for Manawa to try and turn around this season, because it's Manawa right now have an overall win rate in this competition of 66%. But that has come off a steady decline in form. So it actually took them 2 years to lose a game. You obviously won the exhibition match, season 1 unbeaten. Season 2 only lost the final. So 100%, 80% win record. Then we come to 2024, and it's the first time you lost round robin matches. You lost 2 of them. You lost 1 to Matatu, 1 to the Blues. Then last year, wheels started falling off. First time you've ever missed a final, and I'm surprised there wasn't a chop at the top for that one, because for goodness sake, if a men's team of that dynasty who had always been the odds on at a final, All Blacks coaches have been fired for less. Anyway, they have managed to, they've stuck with it, but that was the only team you beat last year was the Power. So, you're going to want to do that again this season, or otherwise you're going to end up wooden spoon. Come on, team. And that's sad to me that now Manawa's benchmark is beat the Poa, please. Again, I love my team. We'll talk to you about you guys next week and how I have hopes and dreams for you, because I always do. But if that is your goal for this season is don't lose, what the hell has happened to Manawa? They were standard setters. It was thanks to the Manawa and the intention that they came in to that exhibition match. And I'm going to say it was Manawa, because it wasn't the fucking Blues. And the Blues players would tell you that themselves. It took them 3 seasons to wake up and actually start supporting their Wahine's team. And then we've seen the magic that has turned around from them. But the way that the Manawa were treated in terms of, even I remember all the noise that went on about the jerseys and the way that they were properly presented and the numbers and the way that properly created something. I remember that the Blues, meanwhile, were training on a park with dog shit on it in the lead up to that, because they hadn't had a proper training ground and to go into that exhibition match. So I remember the way that Manawa carried themselves with mana into that first match, even commissioning that trophy that's now still played for between the Blues and the Manawa to recognise that first match. What the hell happened to that franchise?
And this is the thing. And I have always felt, the years that I was there, I felt like the franchise was fully behind the team. And that's why you got some of the stuff that Alice has just mentioned is because the franchise was all in. And I'm going to say a lot of that had to do with Clayton McMillan. Clayton McMillan and Alan Bunting, they were completely aligned. So Clayton McMillan was the head coach for the Chiefs, but he was actually the head of high performance at Chiefs franchise. So he oversaw everything. Him and Bunting go way back, both Rotorua boys, gone through the grades and played together, all those sorts of things. They connected. And then in that, I connected, being the captain. So from the outset, the feeling was I can't wait to play for this franchise, because it was just, we're all in this together. They wanted, their vision for Chiefs franchise was just to really elevate and be the dominant super club across men's and women's in the country. They were talking about taking that Canterbury Crusaders mantle and owning that for Chiefs Manawa, and they did that with the women. They really did that. They established that, and there was a lot of real intentful planning that went into birthing that team and what we stood for, our values, our murals, the artwork that got put into our murals that hung in our team rooms and things like that it was world-class stuff from some of the best in the country. And it connected us, right? We had a massive sense of belonging. And then I think what we've seen, we've talked about retention of players, and on this podcast we have often mentioned the high turnover of coaches, and there has been that since this competition has started. Alan Bunting took us to that first championship, and then he left. Crystal Kaua took us for a couple more, and then in came Dwayne Sweeney. But there have been changes in assistant coaches, changes in managers, changes in even the service providers like physios and things like that constantly over the years. So the retention issue hasn't just been among the players, it's been among the coaches. And I think when you go through that many coaches, you probably risk losing that sense of identity. That identity that was established so thoroughly back in the starting days, you start to lose it. And people, it's always going to grow, it's always going to morph, it's always going to evolve. But has it always stayed aligned to its true intent and where it started? That's the bit that I wonder if we've lost that somehow, and we've somewhat lost our identity. So there's a bit of work to be done. And like you said, we may be seeing what the Blues did in year one, and that's taken them a few years. We may be seeing that now with the Chiefs Manawa, is a whole group of young girls coming through and a longer term development plan for them. It has to be. It has to.
I want to just mention one other name who's like a backroom person, but who I remember having a lot of conversations with in the early days, and that was Kate Rawnsley, who worked in administration parts of the Chiefs setup. But like, she was a dog with a bone, man, in terms of like bringing that mana and prestige to the like staging of all of those events. I remember her, like, bless. I'm sure she won't mind me telling you this story, but like I remember her calling me up and asking me about pay stuff early on. And she asked me, bless her, how much I made playing FPC. And I said, negative 3,000.
Oh, was that her? Was that her that asked you that?
Her. Negative 3,000. But, and I remember another touch like that was just her in terms of like, we talk about positions all the time, but you also need to have the right people in positions in order to keep these things moving. And I think this is never more evident than in the women's game. Like, one person can't change the thing, but one person did do a fucking heap. And so like I remember during all the stress that was the like bubble season, that COVID, that absolute shocker season, I remember her being on a hustle to make sure that like all of you mums and stuff had like meal kits and shit, like that she organised the sponsorship with HelloFresh so that was taken care of. And it was like that type of stuff that like nobody else was doing. Like they were not doing that type of caretaking. Yeah,
so Kate definitely, like there would be her, Clayton and Bunting. Sorry, Clayton and Bunting ran the rugby, Yeah. Kate 100% administered, coordinated, drove the program, and was the pillar point for the players, especially for us wahine. Kate left rugby. She left rugby, and that was, I reckon that's a massive loss. Like if we can get that woman back into rugby, she's phenomenal. But yes, you're right. So Kate and Gareth Duncan was another. So Gareth Duncan was another amazing name. He was the manager of the Black Ferns, but like Kate, just great values, people, bigger picture thinkers, and were there for the right reasons. It was all for the bigger good of the game. Those two together actually pushed for a meeting with the RPA back in the day to get, because that's when we were in COVID, so we had to go and isolate in Taupō and all these other places for 2 weeks. And so Kate and Gareth pushed New Zealand Rugby, pushed RPA to allow like creches within the camps so that mums could bring their kids in and there would be supervised support there to look after the kids during the day so that the mums could go and train. Unfortunately, that didn't get across the line. So then Kate and Gareth made it happen at the Chiefs, and we were able to, for the 2 weeks that we were isolated, the mums that really needed it were able to bring their kids into camp, and they had full-time care. So like those touches are huge.
And that was like the mamai that was very much there in the Blues, because I remember, and she's gone on the record with it, so I'm not speaking out of turn, but like Aroha Savage talking about how difficult that was with her and her twins who were little
Twins.
babies at the time. Steph Te Heidi Fox, who had her little girl as well with Matatu. Like that type of protection and extra
Charmaine
step,
Smith.
like pushing it, it's not happening while we're doing it then. And so like, again, if we're talking longer term, what I actually think needs to happen to Opiki, it's like, if you look over again at the England example, PWR is funded by England Rugby, but it's then funded by the clubs, and there is actually an administration that sits and runs that game. Okay, that's Genevieve Shaw, I believe, is the CE. I've had a hui with her before, and she taught me through a bunch of structural stuff. It was very useful. Her phone is always on the hook. If anyone from New Zealand wants to actually call her, I recommend you do. She has a lot to share with us. But they have that separate, like, independent infrastructure whose job is running that competition, right? And you can see the way that PWR has continued to go. We need that with Opiki. Opiki needs somebody whose job is Opiki. Because at the moment, still, a lot of people's job is Opiki for the 2 months that it exists, but the rest of the year, it's 99% men's rugby. So you need at least one person. And yeah, if you're going to hire someone, call up Kate Rawnsley and say, can you come and be our GM? Because you know this shit better than anyone. And you know all of the people at all of the different franchises. You know all of the politics behind the scenes. You know all of the things that we have to make noise about. So I would be calling, if I was in New Zealand Rugby, I would be calling Kate Rawnsley up and I would ask her to run Opiki for us.
100%.
That's what I would do.
Amazing. Yeah.
She is. But, she's probably too successful now in her, like, other life. This is always a thing. Like, you got to hold on to talent. I don't know. This Manawa team, I said to you, a lot of stuff, a lot of hard stuff. Yeah, look, sometimes you got to, it's got to go hard and then it gets better again. Because, like I said, although that was the blue story in that time, well, fuck, now they're on road for, the team to beat as the three-peat. So you never know what's coming for the Manawa.
Now they are the dynasty. The Blues are the dynasty. They're going for the three-peat, like you just said. So, yes, there is hope. There's always hope in everything. And, I seen you before whisper to your power team, saying you've got hopes and aspirations and all these things. I do too. And I think I still go back to, zero pressure, zero shits, zero Fs given, own the underdog and just go for it. I'll still be cheering. And this podcast is going to get real interesting because last year, I kind of was able to be laugh at Alice a little bit, but now we're equal playing field, girl.
Will be off when it comes to Manawa and Paua playing each other I don't know. We might have to get a third person. We have to call it a mediator to be in those episodes. But that is going to be, it's going to be fascinating to see. Hey, you've got a new home this season too. Did you know that? You're at some random park. You're not at FMG.
Stop doing little digs. Just don't say random park.
I'm just saying you're at some random park. I'm just saying this because you got no excuse, team. You don't have to worry about a double-header nonsense. They're putting it in a space where you can create a vibe. It is at a random park, but it'll be whatever energy you bring there is what it will be. And there is actually a part of me that says, I don't actually have an issue with this. I think if you can stage it better and create a better vibe at a smaller scale thing, the scenes for the Phoenix at Porirua Park on the weekend, and there were 6,000 or just under 6,000 people there, but it was such a cool energy. Whereas we get 6,000 at our games at the stadium and it sucks.
Yeah,
so having
spread out
too big. So having that excitement, having that wraparound. I say you're at what is the name of the park? Do you know? Douglas? Something Douglas?
No, I was going to say Fred Jones, but
maybe Fred Jones. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it must be Fred Jones.
We'll find that out.
Hey, we did lots of other prep, okay? There were lots of other stats and things you learned in this episode, but you need to get out and keep showing your support. I'm seeing now the drop of memberships and things like that. So that is also your impetus. You've got to buy your membership. I don't care if you don't go to the games. Buy your membership anyway. They're $50. Buy your bloody membership. Show up for women's rugby. We get so little opportunities to actually buy tickets for our women. So you can afford that. Come on, now that's just one less night out on the town.
Yeah, coffees these days, it's just a few.
That's
few
one less
made at home.
tank filled of petrol. Let's be honest. Not even that, half a tank these days. But come on, turn out for your team. And they're going to need you more than ever. Like, if this is going to be a tough season, then they need to have full noise in their corner. So, turn up and love on them. Let's go. All right, we'll be moving down the island next week, which means it's time to talk about a different team. But for now, that is more than enough. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Make sure to like, comment, share. Find us on all your platforms. Oh, my gosh. I need to get better at that.
Yeah, that's it. We're professionals.
Oh, my God. Poor
We'll see you
everyone.
next week.